Here we are. We have another 7-minute interview, and it is with Molderville, and this is Boris. And and we can start recording now. Here we go.
Okay. Hi. Did you know the Resident Evil universe before starting this movie, whether it was the numerous video games or the previous movies by Paul Wes Anderson, Anderson Witt, and Russell Mulcahy? Please.
Was I aware of the sort of previous franchise?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. I had grown up on the games, and as a student had sort of played the games and fallen in love with them as a horror. I'm a horror nut, so I'd fallen in love with the games, and then I'd known the first movie had come out, and I'd fallen in love with Milla Jovovich and that franchise. So I was very aware of the whole Resident Evil world. It was very much intertwined with my love of horror and action and sci-fi. So yeah, it was a big thing for me.
John Carpenter's film and Stephen King's written works seems to have been important sources of inspiration for both your script and for the making of this movie. Can you talk a little about this, please?
Yeah, I'm a very, very big John-Kamen fan, and I'm a very big Stephen King fan. When we were looking at putting the games on screen, it became it was like, okay, like the fans really passionate for us to go back to the games, and I really wanted to do that, and they're very scary, but how are we going to do that, and how are we going to give people something that is not just the games on screen? It is its own world and its own thing. And really I took Assault Precinct 13 as my inspiration to bring these characters together, because Carpenter is just the master at ensemble filmmaking and a siege movie. So I used that as my sort of template, and then the world which within I built everything, I very much put it within a very Stephen King. My Raccoon City is very much a Stephen King town. It could be Derry, it could be Castle Rock, it could be Salem's Lot, and so I sort of and the characters, they come from the game, but they're also very, at times they're quite Carpenter, at times they're quite King. So that whole world sort of influenced my storytelling.
What can you tell us about your collaboration with Kaya Scodelario and Robbie Amell on this movie, please?
Yeah, Kaya, I'd seen in Cruel, the Alexandre Aja movie, and I'm a good friend of Alex's, and we talked about Kaya for Resident Evil, and he told me how great she was. So Kaya, we got on straight away. She didn't know much about the games, but she's just the kind of, she's kind of a roll your sleeves up, very much not a diva. She just wants to get on and do stuff, and I felt that was I needed that, because it was going to be a tough movie, and I felt that she just embodied Claire Redfield with that attitude. And then with Chris, with Robbie, it was such a wonderful thing in that Robbie felt very visually faithful to the game. He looks like Chris Redfield, and he sort of fit this kind of apple pie, handsome, used to be the quarterback hero of his high school that I felt I really wanted to tell. I kind of made this town like Deer Hunter, and I wanted this kind of homebody guy that has never left Raccoon City, and he really fit that well, whilst also being an amazing action hero. And he can just move. He's like a ballet dancer with action. He's an incredible action star. But the thing that he really brought that I loved, and I would love if I worked with him again to bring more of, is he really is very funny. And I didn't realize quite how funny he was. And he can play off the humor in a way that I would love to lean into more. But he's an amazing actor.
Special effects on this film are very successful, especially the creatures that are faithful to the universe of Resident Evil. Can you tell us about the main difficulty encountering with them?
Yeah, I mean, you had two different elements, really, or three different elements. You had the big creatures, you had the zombies, and then you had Lisa Trevor. And probably the most difficult aspect of the whole movie was the zombies, because you know, with Shaun of the Dead and that kind of thing, zombies are just not scary anymore. And you know, you could see them every week on Walking Dead on your TV screen, and I had to present a whole new way to make zombies scary again. So they were really influenced by, I mean, obviously the game, and obviously what the game is influenced by, like Romero. That's very much in there. But then I was very obsessed with the TV show at the time, Chernobyl, and I found that really disturbing. And the makeup in that show with the radiation sickness was really disturbing. And I thought that was a really interesting way which we could explore the sickness going about this town. So with Steve Newburn, who's the special effects artist, we looked at that as a way of transforming the zombies into the townsfolk into zombies. And then with Lisa Trevor, I really wanted this haunting, kind of creepy, slightly James Wan, very modern kind of horror, maybe even a slightly bit of Japanese horror in there. And I wanted it to be the tone of how I approached the horror in this movie. I wanted her to be the first thing we see, and to feel this really haunting, dark and scary creature within our film. So we cast an actress who is amazing actress and an amazing creature performer, and then it was all prosthetics. And then she actually then played some of the other creatures, like the Licker. She was the movement artist on the Licker. And then as the creatures get bigger, it moves out of the world of practical and into the world of CGI. But there was a lot. It was pretty tricky. It was a lot to balance.
How was the reunion with director of photography Maxime Alexandre on this movie after The Door?
Yeah, it was great to just work again. We have such a close relationship, and it was a tough movie. It was cold. It was during the pandemic. We had so little time to prep, and it was just really fun to get in there with him again and really push a very unique retro style. A lot of zoom lenses, a lot of no drones, no techno cranes. It was very retro filmmaking to make you really feel like it wasn't this kind of impossible filmmaking that people do now, where the camera can just go wherever it wants. It was really rooted in sort of very rudimentary grip equipment, and really dark and moody, but with some bright popping 70s colors, lots of flashes of reds and sodium lights. And yeah, it was really fun experience to shoot this movie with him.
What are the most important elements?
I'm just gonna give you a heads up. This is the last question because we need to wrap this up.
Okay, sorry. My next question: which are for you the main important elements to succeed a great adaptation of video games, as this one?
Yeah, I think really the key for me was my love of the games. So the love is there. And then to tell a story that was as close to the games as I could, but it's its own story, and that the story must come first above any Easter eggs of the games. They must never overtake the narrative. It should always be emotionally engaging. And the characters, again, they come from the games, but they must be their own thing and must live and breathe as proper human beings. And then to scare. Everything is set there to scare, to make a scary movie. So whether you like the video games, whether you like the movies, or whether you just like scary movies, that's the one thing that should unite people, is that this is a properly scary movie where you invest in the characters.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
See you later.